All right. Beautiful. A good avach, Shavua Tov, a good week to one and all. We begin a new week. Parshas Lech Lecha. We live with Avram Avinu, Abraham, for an entire week, a joyful week. Yet, we're still living in our mimer, in our Hasidic discourse, with Noach and the flood. That's where we're at. And we're going to continue. Might finish it tomorrow, perhaps. So we're speaking about Maim Rabim, a deluge, a flood. The flood is in our, where we live. Where do you live? Between your ears and your mind and your thoughts. When it comes to Tirdas HaParnasa, for the painstaking effort that is necessary to make a livelihood, there's a lot of thoughts that go through our minds. It gushes like a river. And it can consume us. And it might drown us. We might feel we're drowned. Yet says the verse from Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, that the love that we have will not be buried, will not be drowned, even with all of these kind of, racing thought that go through our mind, that not only stifle us, but can seemingly drown us. So we explained that, on the contrary, these thoughts are brought in order that we could actually be elevated to a greater place. These challenges of making a livelihood and staying above, not above ground, but above the waters, right, that we could tread, keep afloat, is actually the purpose. The purpose is not only that it shouldn't extinguish the love, but it should make the love even stronger. It's a powerful idea. And this is the concept of tshuva. Tshuva means, we translate it as repentance, but it means return. And it doesn't necessarily mean because we did something wrong. But return means to go back, right? So go back might be, in this sense, you might think, to the lack of turbulence and the sense of connection that we have. But it actually is not doing tshuva here, penitence, return. Again, not because something you did wrong, right? But because of the distance that the challenge of a livelihood makes, the distance in the sense that, we all know that when we feel the painstaking effort that's necessary to make a livelihood, not necessarily do we feel connected. Feel a distance from the divine. We're being challenged. We're being, we're going through a difficulty. And again, the stream of consciousness of our mind that goes through about, doing this, doing that, and being cunning so I could make more. And not in a bad way. Could be even all in a, but yet it's not the way it's meant to be, because ultimately we should be only using our external aspects of our being to engage, and our true self should be always connected. But here's is through this challenge, and we return to that, then it's not really making livelihood is something I do. It's not something I am. We live in a world like, when you say hello, how are you? What do you do? Oh, I'm an accountant, or I'm this or that. Is that what you do? Well, that's how you make your livelihood. Does that define who you are? No, but you do. You do Torah mitzvahs. That's what you do. You engage in, making this world a better place. That's what you do. You're an emissary of God. That's what you do. Part of being an emissary of God is, I do it in this context, that context. That's what I do. So when we have the challenge of making a livelihood, we got to return to that truth. And that's called tshuva, to return. Now, that's something that becomes novel then. Why? Because our soul, before it came down into a body and had to engage in the material world and worry about materialism, our soul was righteous because it was totally connected. It's a righteous soul, totally connected. But our sages say something very interesting. And a place where a Baal Tshuva, someone who is a returnee, right? Returnee to a truth that maybe was obscured, which means, excuse me, a soul in a body. The soul, the way it's rooted above, it's completely righteous. The soul, the way it's found in our body, now it's got the body's challenge to stay connected, to stay authentic to the truth that what do you do is not what your form of livelihood is. What do you do? I do mitzvahs, study Torah. I'm an emissary of God, right? I'm here to do good, goodness and kindness, mitzvahs. So I got to return to that truth. And therefore, our sages say that the Baal Tshuva, the place where they stand, even completely righteous people cannot stand in that place. Not that they don't stand. In other words, Baal Tshuva is greater than the righteous. The returnee is greater than the righteous. They don't have the capability. Because to be a returnee means to be when you're not in your original place. Original place is where the soul is before it comes into this world. That's its original place, right? It comes here. But originally it didn't come from here, right? Your soul didn't come from this world. It came from being a part of God, the core essence of God. Oh, now it comes here into a body, into a physical world that's full of klipa and shells that are covering over the divine truth. And therefore, I'm a lot, Jewish mother, my son, the lawyer, you know, the joke of the Jewish mother whose son became the president of the United States of America, right? So by inauguration, he, she's sitting there by inauguration. She says, you know that guy that's up there that's speaking right now? No, the president. President, his brother, he's a doctor. Jewish mothers want doctors. Pride and joy. And Nebuch, if they can't be a doctor, so a lawyer. And so they're really out of touch. They're not, an accountant. Anyways, the point being, we come into this world and we get confused and thinking, my son, the doctor, yesterday by the Fabringen here. So, yeah, had the doctor here, a couple doctors. Anyways, so when you are not in your real place, which is bound up in one with God, that's where the soul came from, now comes into a body, a foreign place, removed from that truth in a world where what's right is wrong is right. So what's it? What do you got to do? You got to return to your source. You're not returning to the same place now. Why you're not returning to the same place? Because before you were there, now you got to get yourself there. God put you there before because the soul was a part of him. Now you got to bring yourself there. Therefore, the place where the Baal Tshuva stands, where the returnee that returns themselves to the authentic truth of being connected to God, even the completely righteous can't stand in that place. So through tshuva, through returning, we bring a novelty to the soul, and when it comes down here, that it therefore it reaches to a greater place than it was originally. Originally, what God, accomplished. Which we understand that the novelty over here is we understand because we see the world. We see the world. There's a story with the Roman head of the land of Israel when the Romans ruled, times of Rabbi Akiva, 2nd century. And what's his name? I forgot his name. Rufinus. And he says to him, if your God is a perfect God, remember they were pagans at the time, right? If your God is such a perfect God, then what is this idea of circumcision? Why didn't he make you perfect? Why do you have to circumcise yourself? Good question. So Rabbi Akiva went and gathered a bundle of wheat. And he says, here, this is for you. Says, what's that? What's that good? What's that gonna get me? To go now and crush it and make it into flour, make it into a dough, so I could have some bread. Ah, that's the point. God created the world where he didn't give us everything on a silver platter. He didn't give us bread. He gave us the wherewithal that from there we can fix and change the world. Same thing is with the world, is with ourselves. Physically, he gave us imperfect. You need the circumcision to perfect. Now this mind we're taking to the next level. Not only that, but the soul that's a part of God, that's a tzaddik, it's righteous, it's completely righteous. There's something greater than being righteous. Be Baal Tshuva. What's the whole point here? It's our engagement, our involvement. We brought us there rather than God made it perfect without our engagement. So we become a partner with God, not just in creation when we take the wheat and we make it from it into bread and, break bread and bless God. But not only do we perfect our physical reality with the circumcision, but even our spiritual reality, our soul, our very soul, is also something that we improve upon from what God gave. Now we're going to conclude here.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments? All right, Akoya is with us, and Patricia, Michael, and Joe, John, Tim, Louise, Yesim, Fred, Mordechai, Andrew, and some others.